you're never going to hit that second one.
No.
It's not possible, right? Well, I mean, maybe you, Spence. I mean, like we all rooting for you, baby, right?
Hey.
And
Blech.
so adaptive perfectionism is like what can I do next? It's aspirational, it's cumulative in nature. Maladaptive perfectionism is deficit based. It's like, how am I going to fuck this up?
Okay.
Right. And so Winston, who's someone for whom a lot of things come very easy, you know, he can't imagine things not being easy for somebody, right? And that's where his high standards slide into that maladaptive part, right? This is where we also talk a lot about overexcitabilities. So Dabrowski, the famous Polish psychologist, came up with 5 areas of overexcitability: sensory, intellectual, imaginational, emotional, and intellectual, right? So those are the big 5. And so like that intellectual overexcitability here is like, how come everybody doesn't care as much about this as I am, right? You know, how the internet was like filled with jokes about the Roman Empire for a minute there.
Yeah.
I have a couple of kids who are like experts in the Roman Empire, and they were like, yeah, but they're not serious about the Roman Empire. They're just making jokes about the Roman Empire, and you can't make jokes. I'm like, you're proving their point. Good, 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 good. Right? Because it's this like fundamental lack of what we call theory of mind, right? That I exist and you have different thoughts and experiences than me because you're a different person than me, right? You know, Dr. Nas, like, we're both doctors. We don't have the same training. We don't have the same experience. We can talk shop very easily,
Yeah.
right? But I can't sit here like and say, oh, Dr. Nas, you'd agree with my diagnosis because you're approaching it from a different lens,
Yeah.
not better or worse, just different.
Yep.
But Winston can't see how other people would be different than him. He's blinded by that overexcitability.
I laugh because he's colorblind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's a brown frog. And then one of the best lines from Schmidt ever: Winston, what color do you think you are? Like, he's doing the puzzle of the rhymes.
Is it Tyrone Biggums? And I left her because, and I'm not going to say the rest, but you know, from Dave Chappelle, super racist. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's why I laughed. I'm sorry. So continue. This is magnificent. Some of these things, right? I know, but I don't know. So like your mind is operating on a different wavelength than mine.
And like that, being smart enough to know what you're doing and what everybody else should be doing creates a chasm that you can either fill with praise and lifting people up,
Yep.
or crushing them into a cube,
Yep.
right? And that's what Winston chooses to do. And like part of the reason I chose that clip is that when the bells are playing, it's awful. Centrally, it's like, oh, that's terrible. But it's the thing, it's like, so listen, I'm a terrible singer, right? You don't ever want me to sing. But my choir teacher in high school was like, listen, if you work with me, you will get better. You will never be a great singer, but you could be a good singer,
Yeah.
an okay singer, right? But if he was like, you suck at this, you're never going to be good at it, I would have bounced right out of there, right? I mean, you know, go to law school or something like that. Like, you know, it's, you gotta meet people where they're at, because that's the only way to get them to what level they're capable of.
Yeah.
Right. So much of the feedback we give people, especially neurodivergent people, is you're doing it wrong.
You suck.
You're bad. You'll never be good at this.
Yep. We shame and we shame and we shame. And we don't have the time or energy or patience or the give a fucks to try to find a new way to teach, to educate. When I'm working with clients, very patient, very patient. When I'm in the outside world and working with family, Spencer, I'm like, you need to do this. And like, I'll circle back real kindly. Like I'm going to put Dr. Matt on blast right now. You know, I was DMing him over since he booked, like, hey man, you need to send us the clips. You need to send us the clips. And then I sent him a thing the other day, said, so I was actually mad then. I was like, send me the fucking clips. And Spencer's like, it's fine, bro. And he's like, he's probably neurodivergent too. And I'm like, We on a whole different level of professionalism here now. It's because I'm black. I know why you didn't send it. I know why you didn't send it, you motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
When does that happen?
Well, what a great example of authentic communication.
Correct.
Right? You're being real with me, which lets me be real with you. And but also dialectic thinking that two things can be true. I was absolutely taking this podcast seriously, and I fucking forgot.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I know.
Those things can be true, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But that blame and shame game only makes room for one dialogue.
Correct.
You done fucked up, right? And that's the thing. It's like, if this number gets quoted a lot. I'm not really sure how accurate it is, but let's use it anyway. They say ADHD kids get 17 times more negative comments than neurotypical kids.
Heard that.
That's going to fuck you up.
Yep.
That's just if you sprained your ankle 17 more times than an average person, if you got migraines 17 times more average time than the average person,
Good visual.
if you got 17 times as drunk as somebody, it's going to fuck you up, right?
Yeah.
And we wonder why so many ADHDers are walking around anxious, depressed messes. Yeah, we can connect the dots pretty well there, right?
Yep.
So it's like you can hold people to high standards, but if you're using that adaptive perfectionism, it's like, listen, I'm going to help you grow. I'm going to help you climb the ladder.
Yep.
Versus yelling at you, why aren't you at the top yet? Right?
I think I had this a lot growing up. This is why we're going to get into this in a second, but why I'm horrible with compliments or people being loving or kind is because I was so used to being horrific, terrible, shame-based, being kicked out of elementary, not just suspended over and over and over, and then being in special ed and then being expelled and then going to autism fucking school for behavior modification and then going to another school and getting suspended. And then no one just gave a shit. And I was worthless. I was a loser. I was a fucking idiot. I was quote unquote retarded, right? The kid can't read, but God bless him. He's in 7th grade fucking math in 3rd grade, even though he's beating people up with backpacks. The kid can fucking do math and the kid can do science. He just can't read. And I was so bored. I was so gifted. I was bored. In that boredom, I would fuck with people. I do the same thing now. I fuck with people because I like to stir the pot because I'm ADHD and I'm bored. But you come to college and now people are patient with you. And you're like, why? Well, there's something about you. You have skills and talent. You're going to be somebody. And I'm like, bleh. And if I don't go bleh, then I cry.
Yeah.
Because it's emotionally overwhelming. And then I'm like, this is too much. I can't take this. I'm a piece of shit. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And then the fact that I'm different is magnificent, but also it feels horrific and like a sin. Because I shouldn't be this gifted, but also this idiotic. So it's very complex being like Winston, being like Schmidt. There's just so many different levels to try to learn and get affirmations and from folks, but then also to teach folks. I think when you've been on one side as a neurodivergent individual, you do, most of us, I'm not speaking for all of us, you do get a lot more patience for teaching other neurodivergent individuals. Because now you're like, I'm going to protect this kid, and I'm not going to be the one to fuck this kid up even more.
Right.
Not going to be me. The world sucks. Not going to be me.
Not going to be me.
Not today. You're not getting shit on by me today.
Not today, Satan. But I mean, we could talk about everything you just said. And thank you for sharing all that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
You were just so real. And this is why it's a great podcast, right? This is why I reached out, because yeah, you all fuck around, but you can flip that switch and
Instantly.
get super deep, right? And I mean, we've known each other for an hour and a half, right? And we're just being three dudes just being super real with each other. That thing is if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry. I don't think neurotypicals realize how often neurodivergent people are ready to cry. It is never far from our brains, right? Because it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad, or it's going to be too emotional, or it's going to be too loud. And I just can't. And I cannot tell you how, I heard someone say oh, the sign of wanting to cry a lot is a sign of depression. I'm like, you're missing the point.
No.
It's a question of emotionality.
Yep.
Those feelings have to go somewhere, right? And that's where it's are we putting people in situations to express those feelings safely and pro-socially, right? And a lot of times we're not, especially for adult men,
Yep.
right? Boys get shit, right?
Yep.
But adult men have it worse, I think.
For real. I mean, let's be real. There ain't many men mental health podcasts. There ain't many men guests, right? So that's why, like, I'm thankful that you're here, and I wanted to make sure that you got here because there ain't a lot of dudes in this, and so it's hard. It's slim pickings out there, and so it's magnificent that we got this moment. I'm gonna say this, and then we can go to the next scene. My supervisor asked me today. We were just talking. I said, "I got this. Here's the things on my agenda," and she said, "Bi-weekly check-in." And she said, "How you doing?" I just lost my shit and started crying, like sobbing.
Right.
And I was like, "This." I'm like, and after I was like, "I'm stop crying." I'm like, "I'm actually doing very well. Like, life is extremely good. Just last week was kind of sus." She's like, "Are you taking care of yourself? And like, do you need like a therapist or support?" I'm like, "I'm good. My boys are good. I'm checking it. I processed the shit on the podcast the other day with my boy. Like, I'm good. I'm just doing my yoga, my workout. Like, I'm doing really. We just had a 3-week camping trip and shit."
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Check out the full episode on our channel and anywhere you find podcasts. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Whoop whoop.